This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm talking about navigating markets in turmoil. Today, as I record this episode on April 9th, the S&P 500 just had its third best day ever with a gain of 9.5%. Pretty incredible what has happened today, followed by 4 down days where it seems like the bottom was falling out of the market. I can tell you, as a financial advisor who is a steward of millions of dollars of assets, hundreds of millions of dollars of assets, seeing the magnitude of losses across the entire portfolios of our clients was sobering, to say the least. So today I want to talk about, should I make changes to my portfolio? I touched on this yesterday when I talked about, can you handle a bear market? Many people have got lazy about just allowing growth and their stock allocation in their investment portfolio to go unchecked. And why not? We've had 5, 6 strong years. I mean, we've had such a strong, we've had little hiccups here and there, but you go back 10, 15 years, I mean, basically coming out of the financial crisis, we only had one bear market, and that was during COVID, and it was very brief. It lasted like 3 weeks. So as long as you stuck it out during COVID, which I think most people did because they were so worried and distracted by COVID itself that they weren't even thinking about their portfolio. So most people stuck it out. And this is the first time where I've sensed, aside from COVID areas since 2008, that I've sensed real fear and uncertainty. And the proof is in the pudding because people are selling in sort of this panic environment as the tariffs have gone into effect. And then they bought back in and drove the markets higher to record-setting highs. Just today, when Trump announced a reprieve on those tariffs, at least temporarily. So should I make changes to my portfolio? Maybe. Now, look at your portfolio right now. How has it held up this year? Are you down 3%, 5%? I would argue that if you are too high in stocks right now and you're very uncomfortable with what has happened, but depending on when you listen to this, I don't know what the markets are going to do a week and a half from now, whenever you listen to this, or longer than that. If markets have continued to recover, if they've at least stabilized some, which is actually pretty likely, I think, you will have an opportunity. If you only have losses this year of 3, 5%, where's your portfolio value now compared to where it was? Is it where it was maybe last summer, last fall? So you're only giving up maybe 6 months worth of gains, depending on where it's at right now. If you're only down a few percentage points and you're scared because you're like, holy cow, I'm 80% in stock still and I can't handle this bear market. Well, then you may want to consider making some changes on the margins. Now, I know this goes counter to, because you say, oh, you don't want to sell into the teeth of a downturn and you need to stay invested and stay the course and focus on the long term. And that's true. I am focusing on the long term because long term, someone who is 80% in stocks and a year from retirement is maybe not going to be able to retire if things get worse. Now, it's one thing to make a bunch of changes after your portfolio has dropped 10, 15, 20%. By then, honestly, it's too late. You need to ride it out because you don't want to sell into the teeth of a downturn when it's gone down that much. But I talked to a client today. They were about 80% in stocks and they shouldn't have been. We've been making progress because they were actually more in stocks than this. And we've actually made progress gradually in reducing their stock position over the last couple of years. But they have some challenges because most of their assets are in taxable accounts and they have big gains in these accounts. So they've been reluctant to sell and reduce their percentage in stocks. Very common problem and a big reason why I think a lot of people are too high in stocks. But after talking with them today and after what happened in the market today, where the markets recovered substantially, we had a window of opportunity. We sold about 10% of their stock position because why not? They're only down 2 or 3% for the year. Their portfolio is holding up quite well despite the volatility. And I would guess that for many of you, you're kind of in that same position. And so if you are too high in stocks, now we didn't go over all the way on the other side. We trimmed off like 10%, which is actually a big adjustment. But even if you trim off 5, 10%, that could be potentially a reason why you may want to make changes to your portfolio. So if the losses are minimal, if you're too high in stocks, then maybe it's a good idea to make some changes to your investments. I have lots of clients who are within a few years of retirement. Maybe you're already retired and they have a portfolio allocation of maybe 40, 50, 60% in stocks. That's much better. I would be able to sleep at night more if you had that balanced allocation and you weren't so heavy in stocks. But I know that that's not the case for many people right now. So a balanced allocation, it still allows for growth while helping to insulate you from those steep market losses. So if you've been reluctant to lower your allocation over the last few years because you've enjoyed that growth, I think if we have a reprieve like we had today as I'm recording this, things have come back some, you have an opportunity to reevaluate, potentially reduce risk if necessary. If you're kind of close to treading water this year, you haven't experienced deep, deep declines that are reflected in some of these market losses, the headline losses. And I think that is an excellent opportunity and a justification to consider making some tweaks. Not major changes where you sell everything, but some tweaks to reduce the risk. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.